How's it going, guys? It's Friday, April 24th, and today we're going to do the 2.3 lesson for a new type of transformation called a reflection. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward, so we're going to get kind of right into it here. All right, so what are we talking about? A reflection or a flip is a transformation in which a figure is reflected in or over a line called the line of reflection. A reflection creates a mirror image of the original figure. Okay, here's a quick example of what that would look like. All right, so here's the line of reflection. Well, when we actually do this later, we're going to use the x and y axis as our line of reflection. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is just identify reflection, which is the simple part. But the main goal we want to meet today is, let's get into your class here. Our main goal is going to be this right here. All right, that I can reflect a figure over the x-axis and the y-axis to create an image. All right, and I'm going to teach you how to do that today. All right, so again, first things first, we just want to identify reflections quick. So they're asking, given this line of reflection, is the blue figure a reflection of the red figure? So remember, it's got to flip over that line of reflection. So if I took this and I flipped it, would it land on this? Yes. In this case, the blue figure is a reflection. For B, if I take this and I flip it over this line of reflection, this arrow would actually be facing the other way, right? So this is really a translation. This is just a slide from here to here, okay? So that's not a reflection. Let's try an extra one quick. Hopefully you can figure this out. So A would be a reflection and B would not be, because that's a translation there. All right. Okay. Get an idea in your mind quick of what you think these answers are. So pause the video. When you come back, answers will be up. Okay. So again, 1 and 2 here are just slides. Okay. So those are translations. Number 3, yes, the figure can be flipped, so it is a reflection. Now let's get into sort of the more difficult part, where we're going to have to actually reflect these images ourselves. All right, so let's look at this key idea here because it tells us how to do it. All right, so we actually talked about this when we did the what you learned before. So some of this stuff you guys did learn. All right. So before the chapter began, we did a what you learned before activity, and we talked about this. So it is saying to reflect a figure this means using the x-axis. All we do is take the opposite of the y-coordinate of the original figure we had. All right. And then to reflect a figure using the y-axis, we want to take the opposite of the x-coordinate of the original figure we had. Okay. So algebraically, they say, these are our coordinates and we're reflecting using the x-axis, I would just change y to its opposite. If I'm reflecting using the y-axis, I would just change x to its opposite. Okay? In a reflection, the original figure and its image are congruent. That's pretty much always the case for these first couple transformations we're talking about, that they're the same shape still, just transformed in some way. Okay, let's take a look at this example and let's try and figure this out. All right. So it says the vertices of a triangle are A is -1, 1, B is -1, 3, and C is 6, 3. It says to draw the figure and its reflection in the x-axis. This just means using the x-axis as our line of reflection. And then it says, what are the coordinates of the image? Okay. Since I'm using the x-axis as my line of reflection, here's my x-axis. Okay, since I'm using that as my line of reflection, I am simply just going to show you this because it's easy. I'm simply just going to take my y coordinates, and change them to their opposites. Okay, so if we look down here, the only difference between these coordinates are A prime is now -1, -1. They changed y to its opposite. B prime is -1, -3. They changed y to its opposite. And C prime is 6, -3. They changed the y value to its opposite. All right, that's all we do. And then we can draw our image after we figure out what our new coordinates would be. All right, so that's how we reflect. That's the easiest way to do it. Okay, so using the x-axis, we change y to its opposite. So I'm going to do this same type of example. I'm just going to draw them out for you. So my A prime, it's saying we want to reflect using the x-axis. Okay, so I'm going to take these coordinates and only change y to its opposite. So -1 stays, but the other -1 changes to its opposite of +1. B prime would be, I'm keeping 2 as is. -1 becomes +1. C prime, 4 stays the same. -3 changes to +3. D prime, 1 stays the same, and -3 changes to +3. Okay, so these are our coordinates, and then from there we would just plot them and then connect our shape or connect our dots to make our new image. Simple as that. All right, so next one, example 3, we're just going to do the opposite. We're going to use the y-axis to reflect now. Okay, so remember our rule for that. We're just changing our x values to their opposites. Okay, so if these are our vertices of our quadrilateral and we want to reflect using the y-axis, here's what they do. They just kind of show it algebraically that we're going to basically take the opposite of the x coordinate. The y coordinate does not change. Okay, so if we look at these ordered pairs in comparison to these, the only difference is the x values are the opposites as they were up here. Okay, and then we can draw our image after we find our new coordinates. All right, so if we can use that very simple rule, guys, this should be pretty simple today. All right, so that's pretty much it. So at this time, you guys are going to go in to big ideas today. All right, big ideas today, and you're going to do the 2.3 practice in big ideas. But that's pretty much it. That's a very simple lesson because it's a very clear-cut rule that we use. Okay. If you need to review what our rule is again, it's this key idea right here on page 56 in your textbook. All right, it tells us how to reflect using the x-axis and using the y-axis. All right. But again, hopefully this makes sense. Ask me questions through email or discussion thread, and I will talk to you guys next week.